Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ Live. I'm Jordan.
I'm Tara.
And today we're talking about Teams.
Your favorite.
Which I will say, there's a lot of jokes and hatred for Teams, but rarely is it about the product. It's about how Microsoft is just trying to shovel it right in our face constantly. So the most often question we get is, how do I stop Teams from coming back? Which to me isn't so much about the product, it's about Microsoft's marketing is killing the product. But you say, no, it's still good.
I love Teams.
All right. Sell me on it.
Okay. I mean, I think it's going to be hard to sell you on it, but you know what? I'm going to try. I am going to try. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, first of all, today, as you saw from the title, we're going to talk about cross-tenant collaboration. And before I can really fully explain to you what that means, we got to do some setup, okay? So let's get the yucky stuff out of the way first. So the first place we need to start, did you want to tell me something?
No, so it sounds like we're not starting with what makes Teams great, but
No.
how all the work that goes into making Teams function.
Yes, because it's important. So we're going to start in Azure because everything in 365 starts in Azure. Okay, so let's go there first. So I hate drilling around in Azure because I can never find what I need. So I always just go to portal.azure.com, and then I'm going to click on Azure Active Directory. Okay, then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to External Identities. And then I'm going to go to external collaboration. Makes sense because that's what we're talking about, cross-tenant collaboration. And then, cross-tenant access is what I meant. Okay, I'm going to come here. Okay, so this is important. Right here, I can add an organization. And if I wanted to, I can come over here and I can type a domain. So let's just type PDQ for fun, okay? And it's going to say, I can't find you, but it's lying. It can. Okay. So it'll find the domain and then it will tell you the tenant ID. And I can hit add, but I'm not going to do that right now because we're going to open it up to everybody. But I want to tell you about this because this is important. If I add one tenant or multiple tenant, this actually acts as a block to all other tenants. So if you want to be extra careful, extra security minded, just know that.
So if you know you only want to reach out to one or two other domains, adding these will help secure your environment as well as open up for those two. And then if you acquire another domain, you can just add that later. You can add a third. And so it's more of only these and nothing else.
That's right. It acts as a block as well.
That sounds like my preferred.
Yeah, if you're really security minded, this is the way, but just be aware you're blocking others and they have to do it on their end as well. So if you're a company that owns multiple companies and you want to keep your tenants separate, you have to go into both tenants and do this permission. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's not just I can say, hey, I want to be a part of this tenant. And it's like, all right, come on in, bud.
Right. That'd be crazy, right? Okay. So we're not going to do it that way, though, but that's how you would do it if you want to just do domain specific. We're going to go a different route. So we're going to go into default settings, okay? And in here, you're going to see I have inbound access and I have outbound access. This tenant is really slow and I really don't know why, so I'm sorry. So when it comes up, you're going to see all the rules for B2B, so business to business collaboration. So, oh, come on, just don't be really slow.
Let's just hit edit now. What's the worst that could happen?
Okay. So you're going to see B2B collaboration and it's going to be users group application. So let's edit it. And you're going to see that I have gone in and allowed all access for everything because this is not something that's going to be dangerous for this tenant. So I'm safe to do it. But you're going to probably want to be careful for your own tenant. Just be mindful of what you're doing, right? You don't want to break a bunch of stuff. So groups and users are going to be separate. And then there's one for application. So if you do 365 proxied apps, that's an example of what this would be relating to. Okay. So you just want to open these up. Then this B2B direct, that would be the specific tenant access that we were talking about. But I'm not doing that, so I don't care about that on this one. Then I'm going to come over here to trust settings. Okay, so this is important. See how it says trust multi-factor authentication from Azure AD tenants? That means that the tenant that I'm allowing in, I'm going to trust that they have MFA set up properly.
It seems like a verify first.
Yes. So before you tick this off, check. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do in Azure. Okay, I've opened that up. So now I can use my new functionality. But why I'm talking about Azure, Jordan, I'm going to show you something else that is one of the things that drives me crazy about Microsoft, but it's worth mentioning. It's not called Azure for much longer. It's called Entra.
Well, as we learn, when something's broken, Microsoft, it's not the product, it's the name.
I don't. So, for whatever reason, they're changing it to Entra, and I actually don't know why they are, but they are. So, it's available now, and they're going to finish the migration by July 23rd, I think was the final date. This is what it looks like. And to me, it looks like they've gone back in time 5 years, because this is what it used to look like, actually, when they first launched it. So, see how it's truncated like that? It just looks like they've merged Azure with the 365 Admin Center.
My take is none of this
throwback.
matters because you should be using automation and not the GUI anyway.
You would say that, of course. So another thing I want to tell you about this really quick, though, is Entra is integrating IPv6 starting now, and they're telling people to check your conditional access settings for remote workers for IPs, because if you have someone logging in remotely, you might get false positives because it's dual right now for IPv4 and IPv6. So just check those. You might have some false flags. Okay, we're done here now. So now we're going to jump over to Teams. Actually, not the Teams client, the Teams Admin Center. So this didn't even used to be a thing. So if you haven't been in Teams Admin Center lately, go check it out because it's huge now. It's huge. So they've really built this out quite a bit. I'm not going to go into it too much, but for our purposes today, we need to go to Team Update Policies. So you're going to see that I have a global policy, and you can change that. But if you're nervous, you can also just create your own. Okay, so I can just hit add and I can make my own policy. So if you want to just start out with the test policy, go ahead. Or you can just do the global one. And all I have to make sure is that this allow public preview is enabled. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I have to jump up here to team policy. And this one's going to be for the shared channel. So
this feels a bit like SCCM to me. Like, it looks like it can do a lot of things now, but the amount of setup, almost like it requires a full-time employee just to have Teams running. Or is it just the initial setup is a lot?
That's just the initial setup. And the one I just did was actually from a couple updates ago. So I'm just doing the initial things we have to do to get to where we are.
Okay.
And you have to manage it for sure. For sure. And this has become so big, this ecosystem within Teams. So yeah, you do have to manage it. There's no doubt. But now we're going to go in here, and you can either make a policy, like I said, or we can double click in here, and these just need to be on. So private channels have been around for a while. The shared channel got to be on, and this external channel, the external users, make sure these are on. This is the new functionality we're going to talk about. Okay. Just got to have these ticked off. Okay. Now we're ready. Are you excited?
So that's all the setup. Now we can actually, you're going to show why Teams is comparable or, in your mind, an improvement.
Yes.
Okay, let's see it.
Well, actually,
I will say in the chat, we've had a couple people step in with why all the hate on Teams, which
Yeah.
I maintain most of the hatred on Teams is the way that they force it on you, not so much I don't think enough people are using the product that hate it, is the hate that they have to remove it 12 times.
Well, I think that's probably true. And you know what I think, Jordan? I think this is just me. I can use really any product. I'm not necessarily tied to any product. We use Slack here. I like Slack. It's fine. I could go back to Teams and be totally fine with that too. I'm not really hung up on either, is what I'm going to say.
All right.
Okay. We do have to do one more thing. I'm sorry. Don't freak out. Now we're going to hop into the Teams client, actually, and we're going to use a web client. I do have to come over here to my name, and then I'm going to click on these ellipse, and I'm going to hit About. I'm just going to tick off Public Preview. Okay. Switch to Public Preview because it's still in preview, and it's going to show us the cool new features we're going to talk about here. Then you're going to see the little P right here. Okay. Now we're ready. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, very first thing, is see these icons right here? These are channels that are shared with external users. And that's something you've never been able to do before. And I want to explain why that is so awesome. So back in the day, when 365 first came out, you used to have to make a mail contact, which was the biggest pain. I don't know if you ever did that, but I freaking hated that. I hated it.
I did not like... Mail contacts were just cluttering up your environment, in my
Exactly. Because you had to create an actual mailbox. So now you don't have to do that. So I'm going to show you just quickly. Well, I'm actually not there. Here. I'm going to jump back over here. Azure Active Directory. So we're going to go to user. So you used to have to create a user and then go to all this stupid crap. So now I can just go invite external user. Okay. And I can go and if I want to populate all this stuff, and I'm going to enter their external email address right here. And then right here, I can put all the groups that I want that external user to be a part of. Obviously, they're going to be in Kelly's an evil overlord. Hey. Kelly loves Teams. He just doesn't know it yet, right?
Hey,
that sounds right.
I know. I'm going to put all the groups that I want this external user to be in, and then I'm going to hit select, and it's going to send that invite to the external user. Once they accept it, they're already in that group. So they can collaborate with me externally. Okay, so this is a big shift. I love this. So now if I come back to Teams, this channel has an external person in it. So if I click on here and I say Manage Channel, I can see all my members. Come on. Actually, I have no members. That was a lie.
You sent out the invite. Nobody accepted it.
That's right. Pretend like I did it correctly, Jordan.
Because I'm not an evil overlord.
Well, you are.
Okay.
You are. Let's actually send it to someone. We can send invites right here. So if you, and actually I'm going to talk about this really quickly. If I'm the owner of the team, which I am the owner of all these teams, but let's just pretend the owner is not an IT person, right? It's the head of sales, and you want to give them the authorization to send out invites to people externally. You can now. So say they collaborate with a consultant who's external, they can invite it to this team.
So in my mind, if I'm going to open up to other people who might not be security conscious, I'm really going to limit the domains they can send
to.
Because I'm not going to let some random guy invite just anybody.
I know.
And just ask them for trouble.
It is, because not only can you can collaborate in this Teams, well, this opens up to file sharing, because SharePoint's the backbone of Teams, right? So it's cool, but as you just pointed out, it's scary too, right? So you want to be careful. So this little icon is an external channel. But look right here. This means this is a private channel, okay? This is a private channel. So if I have a team that is all of sales and I have 200 people in it, but I want to have a private channel that I only want sales managers to be a part of, I can make it a smaller group. So if you were worried and you only wanted to be able to share access externally to a small group, that would be a great option for you. And you wanted to make yourself the owner of it to just make sure you could lock it down, that's a great option.
Okay.
So, okay, ready to find out why I like Teams a little better than Slack for certain reasons?
All right, let's see. I mean, you show me that it has more value than I suspected, but I don't see an improvement yet.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go down to Kelly loves Teams. He just doesn't know it. So here I have my general channel. And this is something I'm not sure people use as much as I think they should. If I come over here, I can go right here and get email address. And it's going to really slowly. I can copy this email address and I can send emails to this channel all day long, every day, if I want to. And what I love is it shows up here. So when I click on file, anything that is sent to this channel is going to show up in here. So I absolutely love that about this. So this is all stuff that I sent in here. And then let me show you these. Oh, sorry.
So the overall goal of a lot of these type of systems is to make email go away because everybody hates email.
Yes.
So being able to email into it just seems like you're keeping alive something that everyone wants dead.
Well, let me tell you this, though. You can use Teams to get rid of email in this way. So for automation, you love automation, right? Well, Teams, look at all these little collaboration tools. In fact, we'll just make one. So say I had an automation system. Like when I was in broadcast, we used EMPS, we used NewsBoss. And instead of getting 1 million emails sent to individual people, we use this functionality for EMPS to send in the daily news alerts to a team. So instead of 50 people getting it, it came into this channel. So this is where I would use these tabs to integrate that functionality. And I would use that Teams channel email to bring it in here. And it just populates here instead of everyone's email. Okay. So that's an example of how you could automate that.
All right. So, and is all this stuff just added recently or?
Some of it. I mean, when I was playing with this week, look at all these ones. I can integrate Power Automate.
But that also, so as a lot of the things you're showing, you can also do with Slack. You can use any sort of API key with Slack and do a lot of, so you can perform a lot of the same functions. So it seems to me that Teams has increased their functionality to be similar, but are there improvements? You
know what Slack doesn't have, and I actually verified because I was waiting for this question.
Okay.
the way that these tabs display is so much better in Teams because I can just click apart. I can click over. In Slack, you have to go looking for them. So see, this is something that I inserted in here, and see how it puts it in plain text. In fact, this is the document for our viewers today to go through and learn how to do everything that we're doing. I love how it just puts it in such a nice view. I can just go through it, and I can click right across this channel and go to the 5 other things that I want them to see. So here's a YouTube tab that I embedded. Here's how to use Power Automate. And Slack, in my opinion, is behind the game on this particular part of it. So for using it in a business workplace, Teams is winning. Look, I could put a little monkey on my whiteboard, Jordan. Look how cute that is.
Oh, that's going to help business.
Totally. Exactly. I mean, let's pretend I did something serious, though, right? And I love how it saves it all right here.
But so, Tara, my experience with Slack is that it's really good at text and conversations. But this seems like with Teams, it's more like a hub. You can connect things. You can make it almost kind of like a one-stop shop to get resources, not just conversations.
That's correct. Yeah, for sure.
The other side is you see here you have like plus 5 more. So at a certain point, if you go overboard, you're just adding, I don't know, less value. It becomes less usable. So it seems to me like you'd want to keep those top tabs clean.
Yeah, and I mean, I did a whole bunch to just kind of show you, and I even did Asana. So I really like this because it's like Andrew said, it's a one-stop shop. So I integrated this to Asana, and I made a project in Asana, which, by the way, I don't even know how to do in Asana.
Well, see, now you found something that I hate more than Teams.
I know. So I just integrated Asana yesterday, and I made a project for myself. So I like the idea of one-stop shop.
Are the tabs across the top independent per channel, or are they?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have to add 13 different tabs and it just shows up in every channel. It's per channel.
Per channel.
Okay.
Yeah, per channel. And so you can do OneNote. I mean, you literally could integrate absolutely anything you want in here. Look at all these things. You could do Planner. You could do I mean, there is so many. I was surprised, even in the last 6 months since I've been at PDQ, how many more there are. It's astounding. Look at all these. You could create the most sophisticated workspace you've ever seen. And so let's go back over to chat, though, because I want to touch on a couple other things. So what everybody loves about Slack, and I love it as well. It's fun. And this is one of the things that I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, yeah, Teams is just catching up. And they probably are, but what they have added 1 million more emojis. So very similar to chat. They used to have like 4. You could reply with like 4. Now they're, I think, rightly so, catching up with
But
Slack.
Are there custom emojis?
No. So I did look into that. You can't add the custom emojis like you can in Slack.
That's a game changer for everyday business.
Right. So I saw something in the chat
What?
that I can't believe it had to be added as a later feature. Delete a message.
You can. Okay, so
that
let me show you
wasn't
that.
something that you could do from the get-go.
You couldn't, and it was actually really bothersome to a lot of people. You couldn't, but you can now. That one's got me a good one, though. Look, I said I'm frustrated with Microsoft right now, and he was bratty about it. So right there. And you have to have both people do it.
I don't feel
you could
like I
do
actually
it.
sent these messages.
You did.
Did I?
Yeah.
Sounds like me.
You could delete it if you were a tech person and you wanted to drill down and go find out where it lived, but you couldn't do it in the GUI, and you can now.
Well, yeah, there's a difference between not wanting the message showing up in your history and business needs for having to keep messages like that alive. As long as those are separated, you're fine.
Yeah, but if you're trash talking, yeah, you want to get rid of it,
trash
right?
talk all the time.
And then the other thing that I actually really like, of course you do. Actually, so I sent those, Jordan, not you. That's
Okay.
me to you.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't think I've ever referred to anybody, including myself, as the PowerShell master.
I'm going to learn PowerShell. Okay, I'm going to send this to you, but I'm going to give you a use case for this. Okay, ready?
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times I've been at my desk and I want to reply to a user, but I don't want them to reply back 75 times to me. I just want to go home. I want to be done for the day. So what they've added that I really love is if you right-click here on Send, I can schedule a time. Okay, I want to do it at 10:30, or I want to do it at 5 o'clock when I leave. You can hit Send at a scheduled time now, and it will send that. And on a mobile device, if you hold down the send key, it pops up, send at a scheduled time. So I love that. That's something that's really bothered me.
I'm loving the chat on this one because you have your team supporters and they're coming out with don't forget these features, like you can sync your team's files via OneDrive. So there's a lot.
There's a lot. Oh yeah, and I mean I just barely touched the surface because I wanted to save a little bit of time to go over some of the other things, and I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to go over them anyway. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
So here's a reason to have Teams. Say you're a company that doesn't have money to have Slack or Zoom. Teams does all of that. You don't need those other products. You can have all your meetings in Team. It does everything. It's fully functional. So they've made some big changes in Teams meetings, and I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them. So they have breakout rooms, which I think is actually pretty cool. You can assign room moderators if you have a very large meeting, if you have a meeting of 200 people, and then you want to break them out into separate rooms. So I could say Jordan's in charge of room A and Chase is in charge of room B. So you can just assign little leaders. So that's one of the new functionalities, which I think is pretty cool. They do instant polls, which I know what you're going to say. Slack's done that forever. Well, you can do that now. You've always been able to record the Teams meetings. Now you can record snippets of the Teams meetings and then send it. So you'd probably use it for trash talking. You're like, did you hear what I just said? You record it and then you send it out. But there's useful reasons for it, of course. But
actually, Andrew just sent me an audio snippet in Slack telling me to use PDQ deploy to reinstall software when I was complaining about it.
Okay, see, there you go. So you can do that. It has AI language translation now. So I love that. I think I didn't write down how many languages, but it's a whole bunch. You can do ASL was one of them. It lets you pick the language, and then you can do an interpreter. When you start the meeting, you can say, yes, I'd like an interpreter. So there's really some pretty cool new features, actually.
I've noticed, too, that the video quality for calls on Teams is higher than Zoom most of the time. If that matters, but that's definitely something that I've noticed. So
I want to reply to Craig here that said custom emojis would never be allowed. I think in our Slack we have more custom emojis than the defaults at this point.
Yeah. I think so.
We absolutely allow them, and it gets fun.
It does get fun. It does get fun.
We do have some questions if you guys are at a point where you want to answer a few.
I think so.
Let's do it.
Okay. This is one from G. It's more of a comment. He just says Teams is pretty good, especially for being included with M365. Makes it essentially free.
Yeah, and it's like I said, if a company doesn't have the money for all those companion products, why not use it? Especially if you have a user base who isn't particularly tech savvy. Just teach them one product instead of three.
I guess that could come in handy.
Yeah, go ahead. Something that was mentioned in the chat earlier was that when everyone had to switch to working from home, it was super helpful because people had access to it already. So they had a way to allow their workers to collaborate and move into that next phase.
Yeah. When I was teaching Teams for the first time years and years ago, I just would show people how to send emojis. Just get comfortable. And it's a really easy way to get them excited about something and then, grow from there.
All right. Let's hit another question, shall we? For those with a hate on Teams, is there not a group policy setting to block it or remove it from computers, or Azure policy to block company email use?
Oh, don't get him started.
So there is a lot. The problem is if you're working with a company that uses Teams and they send you a team link, if you've blocked it on the group policy level, you're going to have some problems there. And also Teams doesn't install system-wide, it's user-wide, which is... That's a different aggravation. That the whole AppX thing is not my favorite. So you can remove it with the PowerShell script per logged on user. You just have to removing it. It'll still come back. You have to remove AppX and AppX provision to prevent it coming back. That's a way that you can have individual users that won't have it come back, but you can still keep it alive for those that need to be able to use the links occasionally.
Do you think it's that it's the startup that it goes to startup that bugs most people?
It's not just the startup. It's that if you uninstall it, it's going to come back unless you also remove it from another method. You have to basically uninstall it twice just to make sure it doesn't come back. Because every time they update it, it's going to reinstall if it's still a provision package. It's to me, the problem with Teams, I mean, what you've gone over here, it does some things that others don't. Some not as well. I think it is a product on par after watching your presentation with the other products. But it's the only one where... if you don't want it or if you've gone a different way, you have to put in serious effort to escape it because they've gone over the top on just forcing it into your face. And I think that has generated more ill will for the product than anything else. They could have a pure garbage product and people wouldn't care about that as much as they care about Microsoft's marketing of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I want to make sure that I talk about the cross-tenant collaboration because, Jordan, that is absolutely huge. If you've ever been a company that acquires other companies and you've had to do a lot of mailbox migrations and user migrations, this is a phenomenal upgrade. I love it. I wish it was around 5 years ago. It would have saved me so much time and effort. I think that is an amazing tool.
So to circle back to the question you answered, Jordan, about not letting teams install, another thought that came to mind is the issue is that people can install it as the current user, not for all users. So anybody can go out and grab the installer. And unless you have set a registry setting, which is HKLM software policies, Microsoft Windows installer, disable user installs, they can just install it themselves. And yeah, it becomes a big pain in the butt. But if they're not able to install it locally and they want to still collaborate with other people, there is the Teams web application thing. So you don't actually have to install things to still collaborate.
Mm-hmm. And so there was a question, does ChatGPT integrate with Teams yet? Not yet, but the CEO of Microsoft last week said that the company's goal is to have it integrate across all Microsoft products. They're starting with, of course, they're going to build it into Edge, but the intent is across all Microsoft products.
Did they give a time frame on that?
No.
No, just eventually.
Mm-hmm. They're going to try to bury Google first and then move on to that.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions remaining.
All right, let's do it.
Is moving to Teams as your primary phone system a real option? eJam.
I think it's a yes. I think many, many, many companies are doing exactly that. In fact, before coming to PDQ, did a VoIP upgrade, which was awful. It was horrible. And there's hardly any companies left that even do it, to tell you the truth, because so many people are going this route. Not only with Teams, there's many other options to do it, but I think VoIP-based phones are going bye-bye.
I found out the other day that I have a phone number assigned to me, but I don't have a phone. So, yeah. I mean, I imagine it can. Maybe different businesses have different needs, but the phone's already kind of dead for me. But then again, I'm not real important, so who wants to talk to me?
I do.
And you can just walk to the next office over.
I could.
Two offices. People are calling that number.
You have a buffer. You have the buffer office. Don't forget.
Important. So,
one last question.
All right, let's see it.
How can you save users' history? High-res 2.
You know what? I don't know the exact path, but you definitely can, because I know this because when I was an IT manager job before this, one of the users had been sending bratty chats and wanted me to go save it, and I did. Just go look up. It's an app data. I can't remember the path, but you can.
Teams is hosted on a server. If you're an admin, you're going to have access to it.
I went and found it. You can. I can't tell you the path, but you can.
All right.
Being it.
Any other questions?
There will be one more momentarily.
Okay.
Hold.
All right,
Please
so
hold.
while we're waiting for that question, I guess to me at this point, after seeing it, because I had no idea Teams was good like that, it showcases the importance of marketing. Because the engineering is fine, the marketing on this product has been garbage. So whoever handles marketing or handling how Teams is deployed has done the product a huge disservice.
Well, it is. You know what? I was really surprised. Like I said, I've been at PDQ 6 months. In just 6 months, it has grown tremendously. It's changing all the time, and they're constantly adding features. So perhaps you're right. Maybe they're not marketing it well. It's a huge ecosystem now. So
I've seen a lot of people. To me, the big advantage outside of, because there's some things that are nice, but it doesn't have any massive improvements in my performance in there. But if you want to keep everything within a single ecosystem, there is a lot of value in that.
Oh, yeah.
And plus the cost of if you already have 365. So there is a lot of value to go in there. I don't feel like before the product was good enough based on you just said a whole bunch of these things were just added. But it sounds like they're making it a focus now. They're adding the improvements, and it's going to be cheaper if you already have Office 365.
Yeah.
So the value's there. I think there's a lot of good. It just, man, they misstepped with the way they force it on people.
All right, final question. Is that external collaboration piece the security part of Teams that keeps external sources out of your team corporate network?
Yeah, it is a security piece, and I didn't have that much time to go over it, but Kelly is going to include the step-by-step guide on how to do it properly. And yes, you definitely want to be careful with that, and that's that part in Azure or now Entra where you want to go set up the B2B connection. So yes, read up on that, and there's going to be 3 resource guides attached. So you're just going to be really careful. And the thing I think everyone needs to go make sure is the tenant that you're allowing or the tenants that you're allowing, check their MFA settings. Make sure before you allow them in.
Those links are already in the YouTube description, so you can find them there.
It seems to me for security, your best case scenario is to just specify the tenants that you want to allow and block everything else.
Yeah, I mean, when you first start, yeah, for sure. But guess what? If you're a 365 admin, you're always going to be watching your logins. Or maybe I'm the only paranoid nutbag. I don't know. I always was watching them.
Well, watching the logins is still, if the best case is no one gets in.
That's true.
Not just anything. So
that's true.
To me, being more restrictive, I understand it removes some of the value of being able to just go out there, but security is super important.
Super important.
I would rather be far more restrictive and then just put in the work to add the exceptions I need.
Sure.
Over the alternative, just saying we're open as long as we both accept. I don't love that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and you have to decide for yourself which scenario works for you. When I first heard about this, I immediately went to, oh my gosh, all those companies that my company bought over the years, that's where I would use this. Instead of bringing them all into one tenant, I would have left all the tenants separately and built that bridge. Instead of migrating 2,000 mailboxes, this would have been much easier. So I think the use case is different for everybody.
And the customization is there. It is pretty robust.
Yeah.
And I've never had access to the admin console of Slack, so I couldn't dive in to do a full comparison. But just on what's been enabled, whoever set up ours at PDQ, they crushed it because I love what we got.
Yeah, and it is fun, for sure.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. You did it. I don't hate Teams.
Yes! I'm going to call it success.
I still hate the marketing, but that's not the engineer's fault. All right, thanks, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully you learned something. You can see that once you get past the face of it, there's a lot of value in there. For PDQ, I'm Jordan.
I'm Tara.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. If you like the content that you've seen, please do us a favor, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have additional questions, always feel free to reach out to our support forums. Thanks again, and we'll see you back here next week.